Greetings people of YouTube, it is I, Warsaw Matt, and I'm invading Pertwee Fans channel again. And I'm going to be here with Jonathan Miles.
And I'm here, hello!
And we're talking about Christopher Eccleston.
Yes, and welcome to the Christopher Eccleston year.
All 13 episodes of him, yes.
I think it was brilliant when the show came back in 2005,
yes.
that they had a well-known actor who was a superb actor in his own right.
It was a good choice for
because
us.
the critics didn't dismiss it and they took it seriously, and he helped to launch the new series.
He's launched Doctor Who as we know it, yes.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's funny you mention about the critics. Up to that point, since '96, everyone, Britain and British television was still steeped in they didn't really want to explore nostalgia all that much. So yeah, a lot of people still thought that Doctor Who was this fuddy little show that was made out of plastic and things like that.
It had that reputation.
It did,
yes,
and
it did.
it didn't matter what happened. They tried with Death Comes to Time, and a lot of experts who were interviewed for that. They said that bringing Doctor Who back would have been a severe mistake, which probably at the time it was. But then again, the BBC always tried because they knew that there was still the most phenomenal fan base, of which is us, you know. And yes, the most phenomenal fan base in the world. So when they said that Doctor Who was coming back, I must admit, everyone thought that, oh, here we go, it's going to be another one special. I mean, that's to say that the specials that we got were bad. I mean, we had Scream of the Shalka, which was another Ninth Doctor.
It was.
That would have been the official Ninth Doctor as well.
Yeah, indeed.
I said, did you know this? Did you know? And this comes from Paul Cornell himself, because I spoke to him when we went to Barking one time. Originally, Scream of the Shalka, Richard E. Grant was going to be the Ninth Doctor.
Really?
It was how they were going to bring it back. That's when a lot of the licenses for merchandise started disappearing. It's like, if you put it all together, this is where the build-up for 2005 came into it. All the licenses for toys and merchandise started to disappear, so we all knew Doctor Who was going to come back. It's the only reason why they would cancel.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we got Scream of the Shalka and think, okay, that's how they're going to do it, and Paul Cornell was going to be partially in charge of it. And what had happened is that Russell T Davies, Richard E. Grant, no, Russell T Davies had got the deal to do Doctor Who.
Yes.
And Paul Cornell was this close. So
oh wow!
If it was just for the fact that one person got there before Paul Cornell did, then Richard E. Grant would have been the Ninth Doctor, and I would be dressed in a very different costume. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, interesting little fact for you there, YouTubers. So, what did you think of Christopher Eccleston as a Doctor?
As a Doctor,
how do you rate him?
I must admit, I was very open-minded about it because I didn't know much about Christopher Eccleston. You did sort of get a taste of what he was going to be like if you watch The Second Coming, which Russell T Davies wrote.
Yes, he did.
Rory Gold did the music.
Yes.
And quite a few of the Doctor Who names did The Second Coming, but this is a couple of years beforehand.
Yes. Yes.
But so that must have been that was the germ of it, I suppose, if you like. And Russell T Davies did say, look, go watch The Second Coming, and you'll see what the Doctor's going to be like. So I thought he's going to be this quite brash, everyman. I think is the best way to put it. And I must admit, I was thoroughly impressed. I didn't know what to expect. It's the one thing that you can never gauge until you see the Doctor himself. You can theorise, you can say, oh, he might be like this, he might be like that. But until you actually see the guy doing his thing, you can never tell. So luckily, he won me over from Rose because he had this wonderful dippy mentality. But what I liked about him was he seemed very original. There wasn't.
He was.
You could see that.
Good point.
You could see that. Fans make the connections. Oh, that's a bit of Tom Baker. That could be a bit of Hardall. That's a bit Troutley. But as far as I know, Eccleston just played it straight. He didn't try and mix anything else up.
No, he didn't.
I suppose he would have had a few memories of Doctor Who because obviously everybody did at one point.
Of course.
but I couldn't. I really did. I liked his Doctor, and as the one series went on, I loved him more and more and more. I was so impressed by him. So impressed.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got one of my favourite episodes from that season is Father's Day, which I thought was
that
a
was
lovely
an excellent
piece for Rose's character.
Excellent. That was an excellent one.
And Billy Piper to acting. That was a gorgeous script. And I loved it.
And it was a nice. It was a good time. It was about the laws of time and things like that.
It was.
And I like episodes like that.
I do as well.
You don't get many of those.
No, you don't.
But this one went straight into what would happen if you had a paradox, and and the idea of a monster that comes out as a sort of times antibody. The Reapers. I thought that was
a wonderful
lovely idea that was, and it expanded on how the Doctor and Rose's relationship, how they sort of bonded a little more in that one. I mean, they sort of drifted apart because he's got the rules, and he's carrying those because he's carrying a hell of a lot of guilt from the Time War.
The Time War, yes.
So as far as he's concerned, he's the only one who's keeping the laws of time afloat. So you can see the anger in his eyes, and he played it magnificently when Rose flat out broke the first law. It is as simple as that.
That's right.
There was no accident about it. It was practically premeditated. Rose broke the first law.
Yes.
And he was not a happy bunny about it.
No, he wasn't.
So that was an excellent episode.
And the other one that we were discussing earlier is the last one he did, Parting of the
Ways. I was sad about this episode because I thought by the time we got into his Doctor, I think we were approaching the episode Dalek. Now Dalek was a good episode, I must admit, but
written by Rob Shearman.
It was a semi-televised version of Jubilee, which is a big finish.
It was. You are absolutely correct.
I am.
Yes, you are. That is the correct answer.
I am. And so when he announced that he was leaving, for reasons best known to himself, I've heard rumours about someone in the comment box can sort of say what the reasons are. I'm sure they will.
Comment below.
Yeah, please do.
Because ladies, lords, your grace, your disgrace.
Anyway, clawing it back.
Yes.
Part of the Ways, though, was a very, very special episode. Doctor Who has come back. Right? It's serious. It means it. It's not. It's not. It's a slight. There's slight trips of nostalgia, but it's playing it very down the line. It's a new thing. It's its own thing. So what makes Past the Ways even more special is you've got children of that perfect age, maybe up to about 10 or 11.
Yes.
And they've probably never heard of the concept of regeneration before. And next thing you know, someone of whom they got to know over 13 weeks and has become their hero.
Absolutely.
And changes. It's the first regeneration.
Yes.
That we've had in 9 years.
What they did in that first season, I think later ones as well, is they made the series accessible not just for the fans, but for new fans as well, and the female audience as well, with the emotional elements they brought into it.
You're right. For everyone. I mean, it's the old adage. It was the people who brought out Doctor Who Weekly, they said this in an interview once, never write it for the fans, they'll buy it anyway.
Exactly.
Once you say Doctor Who's going to come back, you can guarantee that at least 7 million of us are going to come back.
Yes.
Yes. So when you have the concept of you have a regeneration for the first time with brand new eyes which are just a virgin to this whole world of Doctor Who. That must have been mind-blowing.
It must have been tremendously exciting.
To the point of it could almost be on par with the effect that the 10th Planet had on audiences for the first time.
Absolutely.
Because nobody thought that William Hartnell would regenerate. So there's children out there who thought, well, this Doctor's going to be around forever, and then he's not. And that was the greatest shock. And I must admit, I'm a bit jealous. I would love to admit, because all through my fan life, I've always accepted regeneration. I've always accepted that people, different people play the Doctor. It never came as a shock to me. But I must admit, they did it right.
They did.
Because with the TV movie, we knew Sylvester McCoy, we knew about regeneration. So it didn't come as a great shock, and we all knew he was doing it to hand the keys over. Obviously. But with this one, they were absolutely right to do what they did. got to know this Doctor. We got to love him.
We did.
And then we lost him. And
we did.
It was so. I remember the feeling so well. My heart started thumping. I thought, oh my God, this is happening. This is actually going to happen.
Absolutely. I think that first Eccleston's first year was a really important season. It built the foundation for Doctor Who up to the present day. I think he did a fantastic job.
It's sort of like history echoing itself. It did what William Hartnell's Doctor did.
I agree.
It built up the series from scratch.
It did.
It was taking itself seriously. Well, I say not too seriously, but seriously enough to say, no, seriously, we mean this. This is a show that's going to go on, and it's going to be brilliant. Everyone's going to love it.
Exactly.
And thank God they did. And it has the criticism, all that criticism of it. Oh, it's just going to be a trip of nostalgia. It's going to be silly. That disappeared.
It did.
And I think that everything about that first series worked to dispel every kind of negative illusion that we had. And even down to the costume. Now, I must admit, I was a bit picky about the Doctor's costume. I always am, because you always expect, like I said, that point of nostalgia. That the Doctor's this very foppish Edwardian. Next thing you know, he's a leather coat wearing, with the big man haircut, as Paul McGann puts it, which was originally going to be Paul McGann's look. That's what Paul McGann wanted.
Yes.
That's what he wanted. That, and the American, the Universal people said, "Oh no!" And they
too radical.
That's too radical.
1996.
They thought it would have been a little too hardcore.
Yes.
Which I suppose in a way is a good point, but it's quite odd that. But then again, it suits the day and age that we're in now. You got to remember, like I said, with Paul McGann, you had, as Russell RTD put it, he was Doctor Who at the end of the millennium. It was 1996. It was the end of the 90s. This is a new century,
absolutely.
A new look, a new attitude, and that's what. It didn't just lift Doctor Who. It practically catapulted.
Yes, he did.
And he did. And it was such a strong series.
It was.
I think we only had one episode that people just go about, and that was The Long Game.
Long Game.
Which wasn't my favourite, but it wasn't.
No, not the best one.
Bad.
Watchable. I think one of my favourite ones is The Empty Child and the Doctor Dancing. I know Colin Baker says that is one of his favourites.
They were exceptional. They were exceptional episodes. They had everything.
Is that my mummy? I mean,
yes,
how frightening was that?
There was a lovely emotional anchor for it. The setup, and we had a lovely cliffhanger as well.
We did.
And that's the one thing I will say about the new series, which I missed, was the cliffhangers. So when we have two parts like World War III and Aliens of London, I must admit, when we had that first cliffhanger, I said, yes, that's more like
I think for fans of the old series, we love seeing those like cliffhangers.
But for like I say, that's for us. That's probably that's their bit for us.
Exactly.
But it's that attitude. You don't write it for the fans. You write it for everybody.
That's important.
So I mean, obviously, some of these stories are quite big. You can't tell them in 45 minutes, but they seem to work that out in later seasons. They learnt the ancient art of condensing stories.
Exactly.
That's for a whole other.
That's another point.
That's a whole other point
to make. So the first year of Christopher Eccleston set up, what did we get after that? We got 5 years of David Tennant.
We did.
Now we have Matt Smith, and they're both tremendously successful in their own ways.
They are.
But there are other stories to tell.
Yes, they are.
At another time. So from Walsall, Matt, and Pertwee Fan, goodbye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.